Donna with the Bartram Trail branch of the St. Johns County Public Library System, and this is Jeremy Perkins, and he is a hobbyist who is also a blacksmith, and he has agreed today to show us some of the tools of his trade, and we'll talk about how important blacksmiths have been in the past in villages and towns throughout the world. Hi Jeremy, what do you have here?
So starting out with the anvil, probably the most important part. This one here it's Peterite made in England, and it weighs about 125 pounds. And then the next would be the forge, where we're going to heat up the metal. And today we're using black coal from Pennsylvania, getting 50-pound bags. Right here, this is where it's called green coal. It hasn't been burned yet. And then as we light the forge, and you heat up the coal, it'll burn out all the impurities, and that's a lot of the smoke and the soot. And then you get coke. And coke is what we are going to be heating the metal in the little fire pot here. And that's where all that happens. The blower here is a Champion blower, probably late 1800s. And as you crank the wheel, the handle here, it blows air from below the fire pot up through, and it'll bring a lot of heat to that area. The vise right here, this is a traditional blacksmith's leg vise or post vise, and when it's hard mounted on a workbench in a shop, the post is mounted on a steel plate on the ground, and when you've got something clamped up in here, it really it gives you a sturdy base, and all the energy it goes down the pole into the mount there. So a lot of the blacksmiths preferred this type of vise. And then the hammer, they come in various weights. If you get too heavy, you start getting your elbows start hurting. But this hammer here has a flat face on this side, and that's for like finishing work. And then this side is rounded a little bit, and that's for really drawing out the metal. So when you're hammering on the face, if you're hammering with a rounding side, it's drawing it out quite a bit. But if you pull it down here onto the horn or the bick of the anvil, depending on what part of the world you're in, now you've got two rounding surfaces, and it really draws that metal out very quickly. And then you bring it over here on the flat surface, flip the hammer over, and then you can smooth it out and make it relatively smooth. If you can spend a few more hammer blows smoothing it out on the anvil, it'll save a lot of time with the file work later on if you're depending on what type of what piece you're working on. Today we're going to be making a fire poker. It's a little bit bigger than your standard indoor fireplace fire poker. This one's going to be made out of 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch square stock mild steel, and make smaller ones out of 3/8 by 3/8, and then larger ones out of 5/8 by 5/8. But for today, what we'll do is we'll draw out this end, we'll fold it back on itself, do a little forge weld, and then pull the tang out, and then on the other end we'll do like a shepherd's hook type of handle. Then we'll put a couple of twists in it and call it a day. So
Thank you so much, Jeremy. That is just so cool.
this is the one for like a bonfire. It's about 5 feet tall. I don't have any of the smaller ones, but this is the handle here, the shepherd's hook type handle that we'll be putting on it.
Thank you.
So on this heat, when I pull it out, I'm twisting the bar one flat, back one flat, or 45 degrees, 45 degrees. So this time when I pull out the material, when I'm holding it, I'm only rotating my wrist 90 degrees one way, 90 degrees the other way. And I'm only actually hammering on two sides of the material because the anvil's hitting on the bottom side. And as I'm hammering one side, I'm looking at where the thicker sections are and where the skinny sections are, so that when I turn it, that's where I'm going to concentrate those hammer blows on. So I'm always thinking about the next step, the next time it's out of the fire. So we'll pull it up to heat and I'll pull it out and smooth out the taper, and we'll go from there.
Jeremy, how many years have you been doing this craft?
I've been interested in it and reading about it and watching videos on it since I was, early teenager. Just recently was able to acquire the equipment and have the time. About 5 years ago, I joined a local blacksmith guild in the Tidewater area, and it really opened up my eyes to the craft, and I was able to find the equipment cheap. Hindsight 2020, I wish I would have just gotten a railroad track from a scrap yard and a brake drum and made my own forge earlier on, but I wanted to go period correct on a lot of things, and so it just took more time. But about 5 years heavily involved in it. So I'm using the flat side of my hammer now, and I am drawing it out and smoothing it out as much as possible. These are more of a plemishing hammer hit than before, when I was coming down on it a lot harder. So that's the taper that we're looking for, and that'll be the end that will be we'll fold it back and we'll put a hook on it. It back on itself. Now I got a thick piece of metal on the bottom towards the heat source, and then the thinner piece, the part that's going to melt off the easiest, is on top, so it'll protect that. As we start getting close, what I'll do is I'll flip it just to get that last little bit of heat on the skinny part. Flip it back and we'll pull it out. Covered like that to get all the heat. If I dig it down, I put it closer to the air source, then it'll be more oxidized heat, and it's not what we're looking for. Getting close right now, looking for those few sparks to spit out of the fire. Most shops are dark. You go to like Williamsburg or other places at the dark shops, you can see the colors better. And you lose the metal in the coal, because it's the same color as the coal. You know you're getting close. And there we go, a few little sparks. A little more on there. Bring it up to temperature one more time. Make sure we got a good set.
So Jeremy, you're going to use that as a fire poker, and yet you're creating it in fire. When you make the fire poker, it won't melt in the fire anymore?
No, it would if you left it in there long enough, but what's melting it right now is that air source coming up through, feeding the fire to make it hot. You could stick it in a campfire or in a fireplace. It'll get cherry red, but it wouldn't melt it off. It'd be point where it's going to melt it off is with that air source coming up through and blowing it and feeding the fire. So again, I'm peeking through. The coal that's down in the center is a bright orange, and that's the heat that I'm looking for the metal to get to. So when I can't see that black metal in there, then I know we're getting close, because it's the same color as the coal. And there's the sparks. Now I'm going to forge the point on the end. Alright, and that's where we're at. Now we'll heat it up again, and I'll pull this out and then make like a little hook on the end. So I'm breaking up the coal that's been on the side coking up, and then moving that deeper into the fire and pulling the green coal back some more over to start that coking process. Something I didn't mention earlier either with the tools are tongs. There's several varieties of tongs. You end up with quite a few of them. You can make them, you can buy them, but they're just an extension of your hands, so that when you're working with smaller stuff, you're not burning your hands up. But these are called scrolling tongs here, and they're just they're like rounded needle nose pliers. And I'm going to use that to pull that hook off the side here. And then this is just a set of tongs that, if this was a shorter piece, they'd grip right on there. But since it's so long, it doesn't get hot down here. Not going to use them. Again, I'm looking through the little holes in the fire and seeing when the metal matches the color of the coal. Then I'm not pulling it out and sticking it in a bunch of times. Works good if you can see it. The basic shape there. I'm going to heat that up. I don't like that curve right there, so I'll heat it up again and see if I can't get something more what I'm looking for. And that'll be the finished end there. Alright, so I just quenched this end just to cool it down so we can get to the other side without, heating it up too bad on the hand there. So stick the handle end in. This will be some heavy hammer blows, drawing it out with the rounded side of the hammer again, and maybe a little bit over the horn to just draw it out even further. Instead of tapering it though, I'm just going to taper it one way, not all four sides. Just going to do it two ways so it'll turn into like a duck bill. Breaking up that coke and then pulling in some more coal. They say on average, about a pound an hour of coal for light work. If you get into real heavy work, thick material, it could go up to a couple pounds of coal per hour of forging. Pull it on the face here to just keep it from spreading out, because it's trying to fan out on me. So we started the taper this way. It started fanning out, so that's when I brought it back to the face of the anvil here and kept the edges the same thickness as the base material there. All right, probably one more heat on that. Give us enough material so that when we make that shepherd's hook side, it's proportional with the size of the stock you got. So you don't want like a 5-inch circle on the end or a 1-inch circle. You got to get it just right so it looks good. And what looks good to me might not look good to somebody else. So part of the, I don't know, I find it interesting. It's myself and another smith could take the same stock and make the same item, but some people are drawn to his hook, some people are drawn to mine better, and they're made on different tools. Some of the tools I made, some of the tools he made, so it's all going to be, everybody's work is unique to their own skill and practice. So. Alright, that should give us enough material there. Taper starts right about here. So next heat we'll bend it at that point and then start it around all over the place. Alright, so that'll be that. What I'll do now is I'll heat it up. Blacksmiths have touch marks. It's kind of like putting your name on it. So I've got one of my symbol, my emblem. We'll heat it up and I'll stamp it here. And then we'll do a couple more heats, get some bends in it. So with a touch mark, it's made out of tool steel, and I use a bigger hammer on it just so I can give it one good hit and be done with it. As long as you do it on the edge, it doesn't hit your twist. The vise doesn't. So then I'll check it for sure I'm happy with it. And
wow, Jeremy, in about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, you have created something that will last almost forever. That is really a beautiful piece.
Thanks.
For those of you who are watching today, if you would like, share, and comment, we would really appreciate it. And Goat's Forge has their own Facebook page, and if you're interested in any of the things he creates, he has an Etsy as well. Thank you very much, and you have a great day.